Okay, for this video, I'm going to be looking at the right hand of Alla Turca. It's probably going to be quite a long video just because of the length of the piece. So grab your pencil. You might need to pause the video at different sections. One of the really great things about Alla Turca is that it's in nice little sections. So that makes practicing it really easy because firstly, you don't need to practice sections you've already played before. So there's some sections that are the same. And secondly, you don't need to think about the size of your sections because Mozart's pretty much done it for you most of the way through. Okay, so one of the things we will need in this piece is to use our dead flowers, our relaxed wrists, to float off for the rest. So we've got thumb, so that thumb goes in the middle, 4, 3, 2, thumb, 3, then float off for the rest. Then you've got that action to drop down, there's cat fur on my piano, then drop down 4, thumb, 3, and then float up again. And then 4, thumb, and be very careful not to let go of that thumb when we do 4 and B. And then the edition I'm using here is the Suzuki book, and it's got some dots above the notes, and they're in brackets. And what that means is there's no dots in the original. The editor's suggesting that they might have been played separated on Mozart's piano, and that would be consistent with some of the historical evidence we have. So I liked using 2 and 4 on those so that for this little grace note, I can use thumb 1, 2, 3, which are my strongest fingers in my hand. Then 4 and 2 over, and scratch those notes, and then thumb again, and then scratch those notes. And because we're using our staccato notes, we don't need to worry that we're moving the hand to do that, because we're moving our hand anyway to come off the keyboard for the staccato. So I'll just play that first section. That's the first section. If I was practicing it, I'd practice it probably about 5 times while I'm still learning it. Okay, now I've got the second section. So we have our parallel thirds. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, then swap to 1 and 3, and then 4 goes down, and then we don't let go of that thumb because we're going to stretch our, we're going to put our 4 and 2 over, and then hold the top note, but let go of this one, to change the bottom note to G. So, and make sure that thumb is gentle because it's the last note of the piece, of the section, and it's also not one of the melody notes because the melody note's here in the right hand. Then we echo that. So quite common in the classical era was to have one idea and then the same idea echoed. So, but there's no thumb on that one. Okay, then we do the same pattern but in A minor, so starting on A and C. 4, and then comes over, thumb, and then just notice how this one let go to change to that one. And this is one of the few sections that I break. So I would do this section as my practice section. So let me just play those 8 bars. The G sharp didn't sound. Okay, then we've got a section which starts the same as the beginning. So this little tiny section is in ternary form within itself. So here's our first idea again, which we've already practiced. And then it ends slightly different. Thumb, 4, 2, thumb, and our trill. So I've played thumb on C. Now we're going to swap and put 3 on C. We're going to start our trill on the upper note. Or either of those is okay. So in slow motion, wait, or both options are equally acceptable. So I'll just play that little section. So that's the end of that section. Now we have a new idea. So now for this idea, there are lots of octaves So I'm going to show you two ways. Way number one, using the octaves. Now, to practice it, actually, I'll show you how to practice it first, and it will link to way number two. Take the thumb and play the bottom note of each octave. Just the thumb. And then, after you've practiced that a few times, do the same thing with just the pinky. And then we do both at the same time. Now I'm going to do it in slow motion so you can see that because we still bring our hand in between the chords. In. And so on. And if I play it at more normal speed, you'll see that this is happening, not quite as exaggerated. It's really important because in this piece, it's known for students getting tension if they haven't used relaxation techniques. So make sure you're practicing it slow and make sure that's a really relaxed motion. Now, if your hand can't reach an octave comfortably, so maybe you're young and your stretch it's just an octave but not quite there, then do just the top note, which we practice as a section. But I would still encourage you just to use the top finger. The reason being is later on your hand will grow and then you'll be able to do the whole octave. So you won't have to train your hand in a new skill. Okay, so that's that section. So now we're up to bar 32, the second half. This one, you'll be able to see the fingering I'm using. Depending on the edition you've got. If you don't like the fingering in your edition, you can try mine or you can try your own. But what we do need in this is that it needs to be able to be even. It needs to be able to be connected. So if your fingering needs you to jump your hand, then reject it and do either what's written in your book or the one I'm doing. 2, thumb, 2 over, 4, thumb, thumb 2, 1, 2, 1, 3 over, thumb, 2 over, 3, thumb, 2. Okay, so I've tried to say the key fingerings where they come over, so you can write them in if you don't like the fingering in your book. You can slow down the video as well and copy the fingering there. So maybe I'll play it without talking. So we want really even, really connected. Okay, so we're up to bar 40. The second half of bar 40, and we've got another section starting with pinky on E, and this one uses lots of scales. 1, 2, 3, thumb, swap to 4, swap to 5. 1, 2, 3, thumb, thumb, and then 3, 4 there, because then it's easier to get back down to here. 5 on E. 1, 2, 3, thumb, 4, 5, 3, 1, 4, 3, 5, 2, 4, 3. So you've got to make sure you get that little contraction in. 3, 5, 1, 4, 3, 5, 2, 4, 3. So I'll play that section from bar 40. Okay, now we go back to a section very similar to the one we started in bar 33. This is a really common place, particularly when my students are playing by memory, for them to get muddled. They're playing by memory, they think they're playing the correct section, but then their brain flicks them back into the section we've already played. So we've just got to watch the ending. If you've got a highlighter, I'd highlight bar 52, because that's the one that people trip and end up going down the wrong road. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now here's a tricky one. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. And then 4 on D. You might notice that these are little written out trills here, and then 4 goes down, 2 goes over, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, sorry, 2. Okay, so I just play that section going from bar halfway through bar 48. Okay, now we have bar 56 halfway through. We have this section again. So when you're practicing it, you don't have to practice that section again because you already have. And then in bar 64, we go back to this section. Again, you don't have to practice it, you already have. And then bar 72 halfway through, this section again. So we've already practiced it. And then bar 80, we've done that bit before as well. So that whole section from bar 64 to 87, you can, if you want, put a pencil cross through it, so you know when you're practicing in sections you don't have to worry about it. I used to do that a lot, cross out the bars that I'd already done, so I only practice unique bars. Don't do it so much anymore because it does disrupt the sense of phrasing, but whatever works for you in your practice works here. Now bar 88, we have this idea again, but we have it varied, a variation of it. And you've already practiced just the thumb, so you don't need to, and you've already practiced just the pinky, so you don't need to practice any of that again. We are just going to break them. And then float away for the rest. Whoops. So, they're really important in this one, the same as in the other one. We've got to keep the hand relaxed. So as you're practicing it, make sure you're not locking your hand into the octave shape. You'll very quickly get tension, but you just want to hit the notes softly. You are allowed to practice really slow to get it, and you can't connect them perfectly here. We'll rely on the left hand. Oops. I shouldn't talk while I'm playing. We'll rely on the left hand a little bit to create that effect of connectedness. This edition and some editions put pedal in as a suggestion, but if you remember that pedal really wasn't a thing in the time of Mozart, so it's not a Mozart idea to put pedal in there, so I would avoid it. I would just allow the music to create its connectedness there. So then our last section is our coda. Now, there's a correct way and then there's a way to play it, so that to allow for your hand being smaller. Okay, so I'll explain both as I will I? Yeah, I'll explain both as I go. So here we've got the beginning of the coda. Now we've got an octave. We're supposed to hold the thumb and play that note again. However, it's pretty logical to release it anyway, because your next thing is this chord. It's an A major chord and it's got a roll. So we go roll it, and then we hold this for one count, which is half the note, top note, and then we let go. And then we hold it, and then we let go. Now, if your hand is small, just let go of everything and let the hand stay relaxed. See how my hand moves up to that top note? So keep that hand nice and relaxed. So you've got the correct way, which is that, let go. Let go, that's the correct way, or the small hands way. At the full speed and with the left hand doing that, no one's going to particularly notice unless they're listening very critically. So then we've got, and then this D major chord. Interestingly, that's one of the bowings that appeared in Leopold Mozart's treatise. Now we have this chord here, so it's E, A, C sharp, and then there's the D as a little tiny note. So it's sometimes played this way. So that pinky is really let go very quickly. At this speed and at the grade that this is in grade 8, you can easily do them at the same time. At full speed, you don't even notice that it's not separated. So almost every single one of my students for grade 8 has done it at the same time, and examiners not commented. There's a scientific reason why the ear picks up that note first, and because that note fades the quickest as well, it gets heard as though it's an acciaccatura, even if it's not played that way. Then bar 103 with the E major chord. Now we're supposed to hold the bottom two notes and stretch the top note, but again, Just let go if you can't stretch. And then we've got that chord again. And then this pattern again. D major chord there. And then we've got that again. But for this one, because it's long, I would release the top D. So if you play all four notes and then release the top D, the D doesn't keep sounding. But again, none of my students have been picked up on if they've left that one behind. Now we've got the E major chord now, so E, G, B, C sharp, or you can see at a very fast speed, that one can get very sloppy, whereas this one doesn't get sloppy. And then we've got the A. Now we have, and use 1, 2, 4. Because if you use 1, 2, 4, you can do that quicker than 1, 3, 5, because you're utilizing your weaker fingers then. And notice how my hand moves over the C sharp. I always want the weight of my hand over that note. And then in bar 130, we have this pattern again. And then we only have the top note. Or, and then B, E, and this chord again. If we were to mark all the unique bars in the coda, there's not many unique bars. There's so many repeated ideas here. He's really drumming in the tonic and dominant, if you're up to that in the theory. The A major chord and the E7 are just being drummed in constantly here. Then bar 119, D major chord, A major, and here's the E major. And now we just repeat the A major chord. So A and C, C, A, E, A, C, A, C, A, E, A. Oh, there's no roll in the music there. So, and then it's C, A, E, A, then 2 C, A's, and then E, A, and then the A major chord, and that's the end of the right hand. So I'll just play the whole coda through without talking, maybe, but at least I'll play it through so you can hear it. I realized in bar 118 I missed the roll that I should have recorded with my glasses on, but you know, hopefully you got the idea there. So go away, practice in sections, practice slow, have fun learning the piece.